Welcome back, everybody, to the Cricket Diaries podcast. It's been a crazy end to 2020 for different reasons for both myself and George. And we've just not really had the time to be with you, although we have tried to keep this page alive a little. But we're here today, and I think the best way to kickstart 2021 is having a look back at one of George's first posts on the Facebook page for us and looking at his current World 11. So sort of like this is over both sort of like test match sort of like forms. Let's see what we've gone for, and let's give us a comment below as to who would be in your test match 11, and also how much do you disagree with me and George. Right, so George, who was your openers?
Well, firstly, I just want to wish everyone a happy new year. Welcome to 2021, but the cricket never stops. So let's get straight into it. I'll put one disclaimer that this could divide opinion, but, cricket wouldn't be cricket and sport wouldn't be sport without a bit of banter and debate. So please, if you're not happy with it, tell me. I'm sure you will. Openers, right, number one. And look, I will say with openers, before I go any further, that I think this is probably one of the hardest to pick for a number of reasons, which I'll come on to. Number one, I don't necessarily want to pick him, but based on stats alone, I think you have to put David Warner as your opening batsman facing that first ball in a test match based on form. Now, I understand, because I think you will probably say something to me before we even go on, but this is a real conundrum because it depends who it's played. Because if this was the World 11 A team, and let's, for example, say Stuart Broad was opening the bowling in England at the Oval or at Edgbaston or Trent Bridge or wherever as the World 11 B team, then I would not be comfortable putting David Warner as opening batsman because he lives firmly in Stuart Broad's back pocket, as we all know, 6 dismissals in that last Ashes series in 2019. But what it's also going to show is my number 2 pick will show the problem I think we've got with openers. I put Marnus Labuschagne as number 2. Now, I know full well that he is not a test match opener, but I honestly think, realistically, that the talent of opening batsmen across the world right now, it lacks the depth to be able to fully put a competent opener who actually opens there all the time. Labuschagne has got a sort of technique which could be quite conducive to being an opener, a traditional opener, seeing off the new ball. I would offer a bit of darkened shade to Warner, so sort of a less attacking option to sort of complement Warner's more gung-ho style. And he averages, I think, over 60 in tests. But also, I know that he's not a main opener. So if you wanted a bona fide opener, I would suggest maybe New Zealand's Tom Latham. But I honestly don't think New Zealand, unfortunately, they're scintillating at home. But I don't think they play enough Test cricket right now. And I don't think there's enough matches or balls faced by Tom Latham to say he'd be in that top spot. But that's my openers: David Warner, Marnus Labuschagne, Ben.
Yeah, I agree with you on the New Zealand part of not playing enough tests. And yes, they've just become or will become, most likely, unless something massively goes wrong in the current test, number 1 in the world. However, they do play on some really green, lush pitches in New Zealand. And actually, it's very different to any wicket at the moment anywhere in the world. So actually, I think New Zealand at home they kind of play, and rightly so. But they kind of sort of like have that upper hand, which I think they have more than anyone. So I think if we're playing at a neutral venue all the time, I don't think they'd be the number 1 team in the world. Although they're probably out of Australia or India, but we should see how that series goes. Your first pick, Warner, you instantly took my thoughts straight away in your defence of Warner selection. Yes, I do think he is the best opening batsman in the world currently. However, only if he's not playing against Stuart Broad, or, as I would likely say, Jofra Archer's got him out 5 times as well recently. Okay. So unless he's playing against English seam bowlers, he would be in my 11. But it depends if it's the world 11 who you pick your bowlers, see. So if we pick Brody or Archer down there, then obviously Warner can be in opening. And on my number two, I would go for an opener, and I think it's going to be a little bit left field. I still think they would be at Test level, the very top, and I think they would get into this World 11 at the moment. But I just don't think the desire is there to play that top level on tour. But I think the best opening batsman, as we saw in the county or the Bob Willis Trophy this season, is Sir Alistair Cook.
Yeah, wow. I wasn't expecting to hear his name, but if you actually think about it, yeah, I mean, do I honestly think Cook could still do it consistently? Yeah, he did. He does struggle for form sometimes, but the great thing about Cook, which we see now even in county level, and which you desperately need with an opener, is when England were always under the cosh, or he was under the cosh personally, he always delivered and came out with that standout innings, which changed not just the context of a match, but sometimes the context of a series. Look, you're playing on my heartstrings here because you're talking to the man who literally queued up at 5 o'clock in the morning, stayed on a dingy sofa in Clapham in a basement at a friend's house, and queued over 5 hours to make sure I got that one of the last tickets for his final ever innings when he got his century. So I can, if you want Cook in there, I'd rather have Cook over an Aussie. So if there's one I'm willing to change, then it would be the ultimate Mr. Chef himself.
Awesome. So we're going Warner and Cook.
Yeah, I'll put Cook in there. I'll put Cook in there. I still think he could do it if he opened. Yeah, I'll agree with
you. So I don't think I'd I don't think I'll win the next lot. Although you've got an absolutely outstanding sort of like middle order, sort of like top order here of the batsmen, and sort of like it doesn't matter. I think who opened with these three people coming in, but who are your batsmen you've gone for?
Number three, probably been a quieter year for him than normal, but I still think Virat Kohli is the best number three in the world. Just because if you didn't play him, it's the ability and it's the what if. There are certain players that we've had different types of players to Kohli, but a KP or a Dravid or people like that through the years where if you don't have them, you've got this nagging doubt in my mind. If I didn't pick Kohli based on maybe not his greatest year, it would be, well, what if he could do this? Because if anybody could probably produce something on a cricket field in a batting sense, it's Virat Kohli, and he averages, I believe it's 50 plus, about 53 in tests, and anybody averaging 50 plus should be in a World 11 in my mind as number three. Especially in an era where number threes are coming in a lot earlier now than they were 10, 20 years ago. Openers, as we've seen, the lack of proper talented openers right now shows that number threes are needed more than ever, and that sort of they're normally your bona fide, the glue of that batting order, and Kohli would just provide that real sensible foundation. But I will say that I would not have him as captain because I do find that he is just a little bit too aggressive as a captain, and I think he'd have a lot of characters in that squad, and I don't think he'd be the best to be able to lead that 11. I think he's quite abrasive. But would I have him at three? You bet your bottom dollar I would.
Yeah, I agree with Kohli in his selection. What I would throw back though, if I had my way, I agree again with not being captain too aggressive, and I think we get to it, but we've actually got a better captain, which we've got down at number 5. But I think that Kohli might really struggle in a World 11 not being captain, and I think a better number 3 who has the ability and potential to come in earlier, given the fact he was originally down at number 2 in your 11, would be Marnus Labuschagne. I would have Labuschagne in at 3. I just think that this kid is going to be the next Steve Smith. Obviously, they're like brothers in arms, but I think he's burst on the scene last year, obviously in the substitute role, concussion, first ever concussion substitute, and I think this one is going to be another guy which is going to be the next Coley, Smith, or Williamson. So yeah, I would go Labuschagne. So, but if you're 11, so you're in charge, your captain's position here.
Well, you have really thrown a spanner in the works, and it's making me think, because it's a very good point. Look, I think it's a difficult one. If we're basing it on current form, Labuschagne over the last 12 months probably deserves a better place in that side than Virat Kohli does, based on that last 12 months alone. There's two concerns really for me. One main concern, and this sounds a bit hypocritical given that if I'd had my way, I would have picked Labuschagne in the first place as an opener, because I think he deserves to be in there. He averages close to 60 on the basis of his last 12 to 15 months of cricket he's played. But it's something I've noticed a little bit in the latest series in India. You make a good point about him being brothers in arms with Smith. And look, there's no one who enjoys it more than me seeing him shout "no run" and all this sort of energetic stuff he does when he's leaving a ball outside off, and he makes us feel like he was genuinely thinking of getting a quick single off that. But I do worry that he's trying to almost be the little Smith and mimic him, and be
definitely.
like Steve Smith 2.0. Do I think he is successful? Yes. Do I find him exciting? Yes. Will he be in current World 11s for years to come, regardless of what I say? Probably. But it does make me think it's potential for Labuschagne to become a great. I don't think he needs to mimic Smith, because he didn't mimic Smith in the Ashes. And actually, Smith was never quite the same after he got concussed in that series. Labuschagne became the standout performer. So, take tips from Steve Smith. I can't think of a better batting coach to have, but play your own game, because he's got raw talent that he can use himself and he can be his own player. So based on that, I think Labuschagne is great. I think he's fantastic. But I'm going to channel the Ashes, and I would have him as maybe my concussion top order replacement. I think the ability of what Kohli can do, the fact Kohli's done it for longer, the fact that there are less foibles in Kohli's game on his own. He doesn't need to mimic anyone. He can be his own player. I'd have Kohli now, but I do worry if Kohli, he's playing a little bit less cricket at the moment because he's on paternity leave and all of that. But if Labuschagne continues in that vein, he will get into that squad anyway. So I'm just, because you got the opener, I'm going to keep Kohli on this one. But Labuschagne, when we're celebrating Christmas next year, I'm sure Labuschagne will be one of the first names on the team sheet. So his time will come, I can assure you, Ben, but just about King Kohli.
No, to be honest, overall, really good points. And yeah, I can agree that. So we've gone Kohli at 3.